So, by now you've seen the latest attack ad that Randy Feenstra's campaign sent out about me, saying that I stand with proven traitors and radical liberal politicians. Now, anyone who's known me for more than 2 minutes is going to find this highly unlikely. So let's unpack it. But first, ask yourself why so many of these ads are going out. Well, as you know, the national establishment has given millions of dollars to Randy Feenstra so that he could be reelected. But Randy hasn't really done anything for the voters for the past 3 years. In fact, he hasn't even gone out of his way to see most of them for several years now, which is why so many people are upset with him. So he has to use all that money to run attack ads on me, such as the one his people sent out last week. And I guess he thinks that because I lived in New York before coming back home to run against him, he could say, I'm soft on crime like all the New York politicians are these days. But here's the thing. New York has a lot of Republicans serving in Congress, and most of them have a better voting record, or at least a more constitutional voting record, than Randy does. On average, the New York Republican delegation is more conservative than Randy Feenstra, as measured by the Republican Liberty Caucus. And in fact, the Liberty Caucus ranked Randy's constitutional compliance in the bottom 28% of all Republicans in the House. Meanwhile, Iowa's 4th District is in the top 20% of America's most conservative districts. So what we have here, ladies and gentlemen, is a serious mismatch between Western Iowa's conservative principles and the voting record of our current congressman. And here's a great example. His attack ad says that I thought it was a fantastic idea to forgive a proven traitor who shared sensitive information with America's enemies. I mean, that sounds pretty bad, right? Except that the traitor we're talking about is Edward Snowden. And unlike Randy, who's never served in the military or worked in the intelligence world, I know quite a bit about both of those topics. And here's what I believe. So during the Iraq War, our military had a lot of success targeting and killing America's enemies by identifying and targeting them with their mobile phones, which always transmit the user's location and obviously their private communications. And the problem with government is that it always seeks to expand its reach and power. And so, over the years, some of our unelected bureaucrats started collecting information on U.S. citizens too. And that is a blatant violation of your Fourth Amendment right, your constitutional right to privacy and liberty. Now, by 2013, this was being done to all of us on a massive scale. And we would never have known about it if Snowden had quite literally risked his life to share evidence with the American people. And that was the beginning of the end of our trust in American intelligence agencies. And since then, we've seen senior officials like Jim Clapper lie under oath, and John Brennan, who once voted for a communist for president, I'm not joking, perjure himself. And they both got away with it. And we even had 51 intelligence officials sign their names to a memo claiming that the story of Hunter Biden's laptop and all of the depraved information on that was just a Russian propaganda hoax. Now we know now that memo was a lie, and the people who signed it are therefore all liars. Here's what I believe. Edward Snowden is a hero, full stop. Now, some out there may disagree with me, but those who do are on the wrong side of the Constitution. Snowden is a definition of a patriot who risked life and limb to tell the American people about a grievous wrong that was being perpetrated against us by our own government. And if I had my way, there would be a gigantic statue of Snowden in front of NSA and CIA headquarters. I would make every one of those government employees look at it when they drove to work to remind them of who they really work for. Now, Randy's attack ad also says that I stood with radical liberal politicians who wanted to end drug enforcement and put dangerous criminals back on the street. Okay, here's the background. So back in 2019, 5 years ago, I hit the like button on a tweet about Tulsi Gabbard, who, by the way, there's a non-zero chance that she may be President Trump's running mate this year. Now, I don't agree with everything she says, but Tulsi wants to rein in the intelligence agencies, and I'm very passionate about that. So I hit the like button. Doesn't mean I stand with her on everything, but I stand with her on that. And frankly, the fact that that's featured in the attack ad says more about Feenstra than it does about me. Now, he knows he has a terrible voting record. And as we saw at the district convention for the Republican Party in Fort Dodge this past weekend, he's afraid to talk about it to his constituents. I mean, I spoke 10 minutes after he did, and he couldn't even stick around to listen to me. And I'm his opponent. I mean, if I was in office and I cared about staying there, I would want to hear what my opponent has to say about me. But clearly he doesn't. And I'm not sure why. You're going to have to ask him. And if Randy wants to attack me for standing with Snowden, he's welcome to do that, of course. I mean, I'll back up that stance all day long. But one look at Randy's voting record confirms why he finds that so offensive. I mean, here's a congressman who's voted to renew the unconstitutional FISA court every year he's been in office. And for background, this is the court that allows the U.S. government to spy on U.S. citizens without a warrant and without their consent. It's deeply unconstitutional, and it gives our government enormous power that it should not have. And when I'm your congressman, I will do everything in my power to shut the FISA court down, or at an absolute minimum, to forbid the intelligence agencies from targeting U.S. citizens without a warrant, and to seek criminal prosecution for those that do. So anyway, by law, the FISA court has to be renewed every year in Congress, and it's coming up for renewal within the next week. Now, I'm looking forward to seeing how Feenstra votes, given that he's voted to renew it and therefore violate your Fourth Amendment right to privacy every year. Now, Randy Feenstra and establishment politicians like him apparently hate Snowden for what he did, assuming he even understands what Snowden did. And Randy's all in on allowing the federal government to continue spying on you. Now, if he didn't think that, he wouldn't have sent that attack ad to every registered voter in Iowa. In fact, I think Randy wants the government to spy on you, just like his campaign team likes to spy on my 5-year-old tweets. So the question you need to ask yourself on June 4th, when you go to the polls to vote for your next congressman is, do I agree with him?